One of my favourites, especially on the Mega Drive. But back at the latter end of my Commodore 64 days, when I finally got a disk drive, I came across King's Bounty, which also came lumped with a huge 63-page manual and a poster. I'll link that through on the video description, as it's a nice read. But before that, let's check out the game. Being a crossbreed of strategy and role-playing, King's Bounty had me gripped as a kid and really got me into this genre of games. The storyline starts with King Maximus, who has had his Sceptre of Order stolen by a bunch of villains. This sceptre is important as it unites the 4 continents. Without it, chaos ensues. An emergency for such immense proportions calls for a hero, so it's a matter of first choosing your identity, should that be Barbarian, Sorceress, Paladin or Knight. This also acts as choosing your difficulty level, as each has its own specific advantages, and each will increase its stats once the villains are being caught. Your character stats are varied, such as Leadership, which will gain ability to control your troops, Commission, the weekly income provided by the king, which you can use to recruit those troops, Gold, Spell Power, Maximum spells, Villains caught, Artifacts found, Castles garrisoned, etc. These will all be important as the game progresses. Your mission and your conquest to save Continentia, to bring each of the Sceptre thieves to justice. In return, you will receive a section of the map where ultimately the sceptre is hidden. Once you have the sceptre and return it to the king, the bounty is as good as yours. There's a game title in that. You'll need an army to fight the rising hordes though. Cash will be needed to recruit extra soldiers, magic users, monsters and the like. In fact, there are around 25 different characters to choose from, but you are only able to have 5 different types in your army at any one time, so a good strategy is needed to ensure you have a good mix of skills within your ranks to guarantee victory. Continentia is your oyster if you've got an army at your side, and it's up to you exactly how you conduct your vital campaign. Most villains are based in the castles, and are defended by fairly large armies of various sizes, made up of creatures you'd normally pay to avoid. Only a fool would rush into a huge battle with brigades of orcs, zombies, sprites and wolves straight away. First, it pays to wander around, read the signpost for clues, open a few treasure chests and kill a few bands of marauding nasties here and there. When you start out, it's wise to probably recruit some wandering peasants, which are remarkably cheap to have within your ranks, but will quickly become the weakest element of your army as you progress. And remember, as you can only have 5 different types, you might want to sack them off or use them as cannon fodder. There is a range of stats that you can examine regarding your current army, and that includes the race, hit points, skill level, movement rate, total damage possible, morale, and, a vital element, the weekly cost for each group. You see, it's a major incentive to increase your income by any available means. You can do this by finding treasure chests that are scattered throughout the world, although sometimes you may want to forfeit this quick cash for leadership points. Finding useful objects will increase your income given to you by the king, but also defeating enemy armies will rake in extra plunder. A separate screen is entered which incorporated a turn-based fighting mode. Here you can use spells, weapons and other mutilating instruments, and displays a minimalistic animated image of the action as it occurs. Fireball, lightning bolt and turn undead spells are particularly useful against large enemy forces, though whether you've got enough ability to use them depends on your character class. Knights and barbarians need plenty of instruction, whereas magic will come naturally to the sorceress. The spells can be bought in towns, won as rewards, or even found lying around the map. Enhancing your magic ability is a matter of luck. Each of Continentia's continent quartet harbours 2 mysterious artifacts of power. Each one of these is wrapped up in another piece of the Sceptre map. Their effects are much sought after. If you carry the Sword of Prowess, for example, you'll fight with much more might. Other artifacts can give you discounts on boat hire, an increased gold commission from the king, or enhanced magical strength, which comes in handy if you're the Barbarian, for example. The only way to travel from one continent to another is to brave the dangers of the open sea and rent out a boat. Either that, or have an army of creatures of flight, like dragons, demons or vampires for example, which will allow you to soar across the land and seas. There's more on this on page 31 in the manual. The core of King's Bounty rests upon contracts received whilst in one of the many towns and then nabbing the villain. Catch them all and locate the map's location, and go retrieve the sceptre. However, you must do all of the above within the allotted time limit, which is adjusted with the difficulty when choosing your starting character. Speaking of maps, there is a handy auto map option that will trace the land that you have already covered and is a very useful utility to prevent you from running in circles around the whole of Continentia. Unlike the most in-depth fantasy games, King's Bounty doesn't take ages to get into, even if you're new to this genre. It has to be said that this was one of my all-time favourites on the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis, depending on where you are watching this. I think the music was fantastic too, even though it may grate on some people. It also spawned a whole host of add-ons and sequels for the PC through the years, so it will still resonate with some of the more modern gamers, and this video might be interesting to some who want to know of its origins. It's packed with action, complete with a large fantasy world to explore, and provides more than enough surprise to keep you on your toes. If you're into role-playing games, and thwarting a load of monsters is the way you like to get your kicks, then get this fired up on your Commodore 64, or Commodore Amiga. Yeah, it was out on the Amiga too. Much the same as the Commodore 64 version, but with crisper graphics I suppose. Same with the Mega Drive, but they're all about the same for gameplay. The choice of format is up to you. This game definitely deserves a big thumbs up from me. Thanks for watching guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, please hit the like button. Let me know what you thought of King's Bounty, another one of my all-time favourite games, and I must have ploughed hours into this over the years. Still a classic to play even now, and with a bit of luck it'll inspire you to get into it too. Very nostalgic, and if it's nostalgia that you crave, then hit subscribe and continue with me on this epic journey revisiting classic games we may have played back in the day. There's plenty more on the channel playlists and more coming daily, so hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, bye for now.